Senior Moments, sponsored by the Empowering Seniors Group on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Senior Moments Show. My name is Bryce Patton. I'm here with my co-host, Sid Roeder. Sid, how are you?
Good morning. I'm doing fantastic. How about you?
Wonderful. Like always, these Saturday mornings, we're always nice and chipper.
We are, aren't we?
Did you drink a Dr. Pepper this morning? Is that what's going on?
Nope. I'm on a rigid nutritional regimen right now.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm going to have my Dr. Pepper after this, so we'll see. It'll be my reward for this show. Well, I'm excited for our guests today, but before we get to our guests, would you mind telling us about our sponsor?
Absolutely. Our sponsor is the Empowering Seniors Group, which is a group of professionals that has dedicated their time and effort to provide information to seniors and their family member and anyone that would like to listen to that. And we do so via this radio show. If you'd like to learn more about the Empowering Seniors Group, you can do so online at empoweringseniors.info, or you can email us at empoweringseniorscv@gmail.com, and the CV stands for Cache Valley. And last but not least, if you have anyone you would like to see us invite on the show, you can call me personally at 435-512-6406.
Thank you for that. Appreciate you always doing it. Well, let's get to our guest. We have Jace Allen from Allen Law Office. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm excited. I just met you for the first time this morning, and It's been great chatting with you.
You bet.
Hey, for the audience, would you like to tell them a little bit about who you are and where you're from, how long you've been practicing law?
Yeah. I grew up in Logan, went to Logan City Schools, graduated from Logan High, and then went to Utah State University, went to law school in Nebraska, at the University of Nebraska College of Law, and then came back here and practiced at a couple different firms before starting Allen Law Office. But I've been doing estate planning since 2012. But love Cache Valley. My wife Dana and I, we have 5 kids, and we just are so grateful that to be part of the community. Also involved in another community business, Allen Mortuaries. My dad and my brother and our awesome staff. And so we just feel really fortunate to be able to serve seniors and just the community at large.
Oh, that's fantastic. So that dives into some of the questions that we had. So what is your scope for our seniors out there? What are some of the services that you focus on for the seniors?
Yeah, so estate planning, which is wills, trusts, power of attorney, healthcare directives. Trust, there's different kinds of trust too. A lot of times we're doing basic revocable trust for estate planning, and sometimes we're doing irrevocable trust for Medicaid planning, and kind of helping people understand how to pay for long-term care and qualify for certain things, and sometimes using trust as part of that. And then do some probate when it's needed, and my goal is to make sure probate isn't necessary, but sometimes it is, and so probate would be part of that too.
That's great. And we've had you on our show before in the past and talking about estate planning, trusts and wills, etc. I think one thing we haven't touched on in a while that I'd like to discuss with you are, for example, healthcare directives.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about the show, so maybe you can explain to our listeners what it's important for, and then we'll go over some things that maybe people can do to make sure that the medical profession gets a hold of those.
Yeah, and a healthcare directive is an important document that really comprises a kind of a medical power of attorney, or naming somebody to act on your behalf if you're unable to communicate. And then also part of that document is called a living will, not to be confused with the last will and testament, but a living will, which is what are your wishes? What are your healthcare wishes if you were unable to communicate and they're trying to decide if they should give you life-sustaining care, things like that. And so that is what that document is. And it's important, and everyone should have one. It's not, sometimes I have people that are like, well, I don't have an estate. I don't have any assets. So what do I really need any of these documents for? But a healthcare directive, it has nothing to do with assets. It's about you, and it's about your well-being and what your wishes are, and making sure that your loved ones know what those wishes are and that they can carry out those wishes at the right time, and then also making sure that those wishes make it to the healthcare professionals.
Well, so I've never done one. So how does someone get something like a healthcare directive set up?
A lot of times, different ways. One, they could obviously go to an attorney as part of an estate plan. Is very common. Two, sometimes they're going into a surgery and the hospital has them fill one out.
Okay.
Which is great, but sometimes it's just, here's a few papers, fill it out and turn it back in. It's kind of on the fly. It's kind of at a stressful time. It's kind of sprung up on you. You're not really sure what what boxes to check and what not to. And then, you can find them online. A lot of the state of Utah, I think, has, and I don't have this off the top of my head, but, they've come up with the form. And so it is available, as a document there too. So, but really the best way to do it is to do it where you have some time to think, you're sitting down, you're putting some thought into it. And if you don't understand some of the legal verbiage or meaning, then to get some legal advice on what does this mean? Does it mean what I think it means? And then, that's probably the ideal way to fill it out.
Is that actually something, if you are in the hospital and you don't have one and the hospital makes you fill out one, is that a moment, even though you're in distress, you could go to calling an attorney? And is this something, for example, that you would do? Would you receive a call from someone to go over that?
Probably it's just a matter of timing and availability. So you're probably rolling the dice, leaving it to the last minute, but it's always worth a try if, making a call if you're unsure.
Okay.
So you said something, once you get it finished up, right, it's a legal document, how do you communicate that to everyone else? Like you're a doctor, your family, like what's the best way to get
That's a good question, because I tell people when we sign them, I said, look, this is great that you've done this healthcare directive, but that's just the first part. If you just put it in this binder and put it in your, safe, it's never going to do anything because no one's ever going to know it. No one's ever going to see it. First, get it to your primary care physician. Get it to the physicians that you're seeing regularly so that they know. And then also, whoever you've named as your agent, get it to them, because maybe you're traveling and you have to go to the hospital and it's not your regular physician that you're dealing with, but if your agent knows, they can get in contact and get them the information, and so then the hospital knows, okay, here's the person that we can deal with making decisions on their care. And I always tell people too, while you can communicate, the physicians and the medical professionals are just going to ask you what you want. These documents come into play mainly when you can't communicate.
Right. And we talked before the show, just really quick before we get into our first break, if you sign a second document at the hospital, that can overwrite the first one, correct?
It can. Oftentimes there's language in this overrides any previous wishes. And so sometimes you may fill one out with your attorney and you understand it and everything, and then some time goes by and then you go to the hospital for a surgery and they say, hey, fill this out. And you fill out another one, and now you have two documents that maybe are conflicting because you didn't fully understand what you were checking the second time, and it may be that one that you filled out the second time that really doesn't reflect your wishes but is legally binding. And so, if you have filled one out, just communicate it. Just make sure if you're ever asked to fill another one out, show the one you feel comfortable with and say, hey, can we use this?
Okay, thank you, Jace. This is the Senior Moment Show. We're taking a short break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
This is Mark Thurston with White Pine Funeral Services. The best time to plan is when you have time to plan. Having a prearranged funeral gives peace of mind for everyone involved. White Pine will customize your final wishes to fit your needs, from a traditional burial to cremation to a custom headstone. White Pine also accepts prearranged plans from other mortuaries, and we will absorb any transfer or revocation fees. No penalty to you. Visit whitepinefunerals.com or come and see us for more information.
White Pine Funeral Services, here when you need It's tough knowing how to care for an aging parent. Mom has always been there for me, but now I need to be there for her. When we found out she needed surgery, I wondered how I could attend to her needs and still be mom to my kids. I was so relieved to learn about transitional rehab at Maple Springs in North Logan. From the nurses to the physical therapists, it was like their whole staff was focused on helping Mom get better. Maple Springs in North Logan was an answer to my prayers.
Learn more at maplespringsnorthlogan.com or call 753-9400.
Reed's Pharmacy in Hiram offers free delivery service 5 days a week, Monday through Friday throughout the valley. Just stay home and they will deliver to you. With 25 different suppliers, they won't have the shortage that others might have. Also, with compounding and many other services, they will be able to serve all your needs. In order to stay safe and help slow the spread, please call Reed's Pharmacy in Hiram at 245-DRUG, and they will take care of you.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Senior Moments Show. My name is Bryce Patton with Sid Roeder, and today we are talking with Jace Allen about estate planning, getting everything set up. He was just talking to us about our own health care directives. And one thing I had a question over the break is, does the do not resuscitate order, does that fall into that?
So there's something, so the living will, or your healthcare wishes part, covers whether or not you'd want life-sustaining care. You know, that could be ventilators, it could be feeding tubes, it could be all those types of things. And in it, you can choose between, just ask my agent, and if they say give me that care, then give me that care, or always give me that care, always try and prolong my life. Or a third option is I don't want care for the purpose of prolonging my life if I'm already in a stage where I'm kind of in a vegetative state and it's not looking good. Obviously, if you're, if there's a high likelihood you're going to bounce back and things, that's a little bit different. But if it's not looking good, then there's that where, hey, I really don't want that type of care, and so it is included in that healthcare directive.
Right.
That's great, yeah. Let's move on maybe to power of attorneys. And I know there are many different kinds, and I always get confused what is used for what. So maybe you can give our listeners an overview on power of attorney.
Yeah, so a durable power of attorney is where you are selecting an individual or individuals to act on your behalf in your best interest, and they can sign for you. They can sign checks, they can sign legal documents, they could sell your real estate, they could trade your stocks, they can do what you could do. And there's power of attorney where we give a general broad powers where we say you can pretty much do anything I can do, or we can do limited specific power of attorney where it's like, I'm going to be on vacation, but I got to close on my house. I'm giving you ability to close on my house, and that's all you can do. And so there's very specific things. Now, durable just means it withstands incapacity. So if you create it and then got dementia, it's still valid. I always think that's kind of interesting because it's like, well, yeah, that's why we want it. is we want it. Most people want it if they got dementia or things like that. A trusted person can sign for them, Yeah, and so there's also two types. There's springing and there's immediate. Immediate means once you sign it, your power of attorney, your agent, they can sign today. They can sign whatever needs to be signed. A springing power of attorney is more of something that we're planning ahead, saying, look, I have my wits about me. I'm of sound mind. I don't want anyone signing for me except for me. But I realize, what if I have an accident? What if I, get Alzheimer's or something, and then I don't have sound mind? Then at that point, when a doctor certifies that I don't have sound mind, then my agent can start signing for me. And so it's important. Some people, they want this. Well, actually, what's common for my married clients is they say, well, we want it immediate as to spouses, but we want it springing as to the next the successor agents. So if my spouse was unavailable, I still want to just sign for me. But then if something happens to me, then my successor agent we can have a springing power of attorney for them.
So one question I have there, because we talked a little bit before the show, could there be more than one individual at the same time that are required to sign for something to have kind of a, I don't know what you want to call that, control over it? Yeah, checks and balances. There you go.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes people just have one individual, but sometimes they want multiple. And so they can say, hey, I have 2 children that I want to both be my agents, and we can say 2 signatures are required, and so they both have to sign, and so they can be co-agents at that point when requiring 2 signatures. Yeah.
Now, we've been going through a lot of stuff like this, and so to set up an estate like this and go through all the different parts, how long does that usually take? Is it an hour appointment, or are we looking at a few weeks? How long does that take to take
Yeah,
effect?
so each situation is different, and usually when I have individuals come in, is we have them do a little bit of legwork before they come in, and we give them a questionnaire that they can fill out, and it gets them not only putting the information that I'm going to need for them, but it gets them talking and it gets them thinking about what their wishes are, what their desires are. Then we have an initial consultation where they come in, and we sometimes we do a little education. Sometimes I do an estate planning 101 on the whiteboard, and I'm explaining the differences between a will and a trust and what a power of attorney is, and springing versus immediate, and healthcare directives. And then after we do a little education, we dive into their personal, specific individual information. And, that can last, an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, however long that initial takes. And then, if at that point they're ready to go and said, yeah, we understand what we need and we think you do too, then usually it's a couple weeks of drafting the documents and getting them the first draft in a couple weeks. And then from there, it just depends on if they're ready to go or we still need some changes. So it could be as fast as a couple weeks or as long as 6 months or just however long, the process takes. And I tell my clients that I work with, don't worry, I want to go on your schedule and your timeline, and just want to make sure you feel comfortable with the process.
So let me ask this really quick, because maybe our listeners don't know. So what kind of tangible items all belong in a trust? I mean, real estate for sure. What other items do you usually take into a trust?
Yeah, and I mean, and say real estate for sure. Attorneys don't ever like to use absolutes and always, and because sometimes the real estate needs to be in an LLC, and then maybe the LLC's in the trust, So, but generally speaking, a lot of people have their personal residence in the trust, and that's going to help it avoid probate. Usually, we have a bank account or 2 in the trust. If there's life insurance, maybe the trust is a contingent beneficiary and the spouse is a primary beneficiary. Or if there's, minor children that are going to be inheriting assets, then we have the trust as a beneficiary of those assets. And so, yeah, really what I like doing is just, we look through all the list of all the different types of property and decide, does this need to be in the trust, or does the trust need to be a beneficiary, or neither? So there's a lot of consideration to it.
That's great. And we're already coming up on our second break here, so it leaves just enough time to get your contact information, Jason, in case someone would like to speak with you.
Sure. Well, they can call us 435-227-5468, or they can go to our website at cashlegal.com, cash spelled like Cache County.
And on that website, you were talking about an intake form. Is that something they can find there?
It's on the website. Yeah.
Okay, so Perfect. That's wonderful. This is the Senior Moment Show. Again, I would like to mention our sponsor, which is the Empowering Seniors Group. If you'd like to learn more about the Empowering Seniors, you can do so online at empoweringseniors.info. We're going to take a short break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Did you know 1 in 3 people will visit a nursing home? Did you know that once there, they will stay there for an average of 3 years? Did you also know there are insurance options that can help cover this experience? Hi, I'm Tracy Ferris with Blue Water Health Insurance. It's not cheap to stay in a full-fledged nursing home. Long-term care insurance can help you or a loved one get the care they need and deserve. If you wait until you need it, you may be too late. Give me a call at 435-890-8155.
You have a lot of options when it comes to buying or selling a home. Do you list it online, sell it yourself, or do you have a realtor help? It's a major financial and emotional decision. A realtor is the liaison between buyers and sellers and really helps you navigate complex contracts, deadlines, and disclosures.
Hi, this is Sid Roeder with Achievement Realty.
I work for you to get the best outcome for your situation. Let me earn your trust with a free consultation and a free market analysis. Call me today at 512-6406. Then list it, sell it, and move on.
Hi, this is Bruce with Comfort Care. One of the ways we help loved ones stay in their home is by assisting with daily tasks. These may include bathing, meal preparation, medication reminders, and housekeeping. We even help with shopping, transportation, and errands. Most of all, we offer a trusted level of care. Let us help you live your best life possible with Comfort Care. This is Bruce, and you can call me at 754-7676. Comfort Care, 754-7676.
And welcome back to the Senior Moment Show. I'm Bryce, and I'm with Sid, as well as Jace Allen from Allen Law Office. And he's been giving us all sorts of wonderful information to hopefully avoid future headache. And one of those things I want to talk about and hit is a conservatorship or guardianship. Could you explain those and how they can help us avoid those headaches in the future?
Yeah, and so sometimes it's necessary for individuals to go petition the court for a conservatorship or a guardianship, where the court basically appoints a conservator or an individual to be over a person's assets. Okay, and control those assets for that person. Maybe they're not capable of doing that themselves, and they would be in trouble without a trusted fiduciary, a person acting on their best interest. Guardianship similar, but we have a guardian placed over someone to basically take care of their well-being and make sure they're physically taken care of. And so sometimes it's the same person or entity, sometimes it's different. Sometimes people have one and not the other, and sometimes they need both. Just depending on the needs. Now, sometimes we can avoid that. If we have a durable power of attorney in place, we can avoid a conservatorship because we have someone who can sign. But if somebody gets to where they need a power of attorney, but they are unable to sign the document, but we need someone to be taking care of the financial affairs, then we can petition the court for a conservator. And, you know, a guardian, really that, you know, is just a court process. If someone needs a guardian, then we just have to go get a guardianship. But a conservatorship would be one maybe that we could plan around through a power of attorney. But not always. It could be that this person, because just because you have a power of attorney doesn't mean that you necessarily couldn't still just go sign stuff away and sign your life away and all that kind of stuff. And so sometimes we do still need the court process to say, hey, this individual has some special needs that need to be addressed. They're not fully competent, and we need to kind of have this person to have all authority to take care of their estate for them.
I'm a little curious on that one. I don't know if you even know, Jace. What is the typical route there? If there are children, does a judge typically appoint children, or does that go?
It could be, yeah. It can all. I mean, really, it's the best interest of the individual in question, and so that may be the children. If the facts show that it shouldn't be the children for various reasons, the historical evidence, and or just they're not capable of doing it, then they might not be either, and it could be another individual, or there's professional services that can step in too. But yeah, it could be a child though.
That's fantastic. So I've been wondering, I hear the word scam come around quite a bit. Do you have any tips or advice on how to help people to avoid, through these different processes, avoid those scams and how they can maybe mitigate those?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There are a lot of scams around, and it is terrible. And sometimes, I mean, the scam artists are getting pretty smart. Some of it's just practical. It's not necessarily legal. I know, sometimes people will have, as I'm doing estate planning, I'll see they have all their cash in one checking account, and that's what their regular operating account is. And if they got scammed, they could get all that wiped out. Instead of maybe, let's set up an operating account with a little bit of money in it and put the chunk of it in a savings account, which hopefully they should be able to get some good interest in that nowadays too. But then if that got cleaned out, it wouldn't be everything. Obviously, I think the main step in avoiding scams is if it sounds too good to be true, or it's too rushed, or it's don't tell anybody, seek your somebody trusted, and don't get bullied into a situation. But having support, people that you trust, that you can reach out to. And so it's maybe not legal advice, but always reach out and ask.
Jace, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you find is relevant for seniors to know that you'd like to share?
I think just if you haven't done anything, now's probably the best time to start, because you don't know what the future brings. You don't know if you're always going to be able to sign an estate plan. And so getting it done now, knowing that you can change it later. We do estate planning based on the best information that we have today, and then we can always amend it and we can always change it over time.
That actually brings me to one last question before we have to lead out, and that is, how often do you recommend people review, or what are some triggers to review your estate plan?
Yeah, I think an annual review yourself is good, and then with your attorney, maybe every 3 to 5 years, just to make sure. Or big events, if a big event happens, whether that's selling a piece of property, whether that's a change in a marriage, or losing a loved one, things like that. Big event changes too.
Super. Thank you, Jace. Thanks for coming in. And maybe before we lead out, let's have your contact information one more time.
Sure. You can actually find us 44 East Center Street. We're right by Allen Hall Mortuary in Logan. And then you can call us 435-227-5468, or go online at cashlegal.com.
Thank you, Jace. This is the Senior Moments Show. We had fun today with Jace, and we hope you tune in again next week.